You have said that this is now a perfect storm in terms of global food insecurity. Why don't we open up with you just explaining a little bit of what you mean by that?
We're seeing that now with the both wheat and corn prices doubling and continuing to escalate. We also another indicator was high fuel prices. I need not tell your audience about the challenges of high fuel prices, and everyone who's going to the pump recognizes how high our fuel prices are now. But that has a direct impact on the cost of food because of transport costs and when there is an escalation in fuel. We are now seeing, as fuel prices increases in the production of biofuels. And finally, the fertilizer challenge. The fertilizer challenge began even before the start of this year, where the International Fertilizer Association was suggesting that there would approximately a 30% reduction in the amount of fertilizer that was available in sub-Saharan Africa in particular, and that 30% could and result in affecting the of course it does result in affecting the yields and could affect the access to food for about 100 million people. All of those factors came online even before the Russian invasion into Ukraine. And so, with all of those factors online and the Russian invasion, that's the perfect storm. We know that approximately 30% of all the global wheat that is produced is produced in Russia and Ukraine combined. We know that over 75% of the essential oils, particularly sunflower oil,
Sunflower oil, yeah.
is produced in those countries. And many would argue that that loss in production and distribution and transport of those commodities should only affect or would only affect those who import directly from Ukraine and Russia. But in reality, yes, it does affect those countries, but because of less availability on the market of stocks, it affects the entire global community because it raises the prices.
Yeah, those countries we're talking mostly Eastern Europe, North Africa, direct imports from Russia and Ukraine of largest scale. But these are global markets. So,
These
I
are
mean, the
global
prices are going
markets.
up. Prices are going up for everyone. If supply chain's a problem, it's a problem for everyone.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we're witnessing. And the challenge is that agriculture is a seasonal business, and so we are seeing this with the spring wheat. And now we know that the Ukrainians are not in the field planting. And so we have the challenge of summer and winter wheats now. And so that means that we're not talking about a short-term problem here. This is a much longer term potential food challenge.
I know prices went up on food and on energy around the world, in part because of supply chain challenges with pandemic, and suddenly demand just explodes and you don't have ships in place. There's massive fiscal stimulus. But what was behind the sudden lack of availability in fertilizers?
Well, the component parts of fertilizer also include gas. All of those component parts and the availability of those component parts affected the production and it resulted in higher costs as well as less availability of fertilizer.